So now starting with the chapter number 2 of Inter SM, that is dynamic of competitive strategy. So when we talk about this chapter, it is a very lengthy chapter. There are very good concepts which are there in this chapter. So I request all the students to go through this chapter in a proper way, because this chapter is actually a base for there are lots of word which is repetitively used in the strategic management course, and this chapter tries to define all those words. So the name of the chapter is Dynamic of Competitive Strategy. The first point of the discussion is what is competitive landscape. See, if you want to make the strategy, you need to understand what is the environment, what is the market situation, what is your competitor is competitive. The meaning of competitive is what? Competitor. It is related to competitor. So if you want to enter into the business, you need to understand how the competition is in the market, what in which way competition is they going to affect the business. Overall business of the organization. So competitive landscape is one of the tool by which you can do the business analysis. It is a tool by which you can identify direct and indirect competitors. What is the meaning of direct competitor? Direct competitor means the people who are in the same business, in the same market, and producing same kind of product. There are other competitors like indirect competitor. When we talk about the substitute product, any substitute product is nothing but it is an indirect competitor. So in this competitive landscape, what is done? Competitive landscape is all about identifying the customer. There are two things: identifying the customer and understanding the customer. First identify who are your competitor. There are two type of competitor, as I said, direct and indirect. Then understand the competitor. Now what is the meaning of understanding competitor? Understanding competitor means you need to understand what is their vision. You need to understand what is the mission, what is the value, market strength, weakness, their current position, their core competency, their competitive advantage. These are the various things which you need to understand. And when you understand these things, we can say that yes, you understood the competitor. So if there is a question of competitive landscape, first you need to write that you need to identify and you need to understand the competitor. Identify competitor means both the competitor, direct and indirect. And understand competitor means understand what is their vision, mission, objective, their competitiveness, their core competency, their competitive advantage, and all these things. If you want to really understand competitor, you need to understand all these things, and this things is known as competitive intelligence. Intelligence means the basic idea of the competitor. Competitive intelligence, this word you need to remember. To do the competitive landscape, you need to understand the competitor, and competitive intelligence will help you in this. There's a 5-step process to understand to understand the competitor, to do the competitive landscape analysis, to understand the competitive landscape. One, identifying the competitor. There are basic questions which is going to be asked in this: who are your competitor? Second is understand competitor. What is their product and services? This answer will give you idea about what is your competitor doing exactly, what exactly the people are doing. Then determining the strength of competitor. What is their financial position, what is their strength, what is their weakness, and what is their likely move, what is their distribution strength, what is their human resource strength, what is their brand value in the market. These are the various things which will give you idea about how strong a competitor is there in the market. Fourth is determining weakness. You need to identify where they are lagging behind. And last is, whatever you have done in the previous 4 steps, you have to put all the information together. When you put all the information together, all the information about the competitor together, you will come to know about how to capitalize on the weaknesses of the competitor. You can understand the scope of the improvement. You can understand the ways, you can identify the ways to deal with them. You can find out a gap where you can work upon it. So it is a 5-step. सबसे पहले first identify the competitor, second understand competitor. Identify and understand, these two parts are also in the definition. So identify and understand. Third and fourth. Third is about strength and fourth is about weakness. So determining strength and fourth weakness, and fifth put all information together. Again, I am repeating this so you can remember the question. If there is a question of competitive landscape, what you are supposed to write? You have to write that there are two works: identify the competitor and understand the competitor. When you talk about the identifying competitor, there are two type of competitor: direct and indirect. Understand the competitor means understand their mission, understand their vision, understand their objective, understand each and every possible things about them, like value, market, belief, brand condition, these all things. And after in this process, to understand the competitor, competitive intelligence is going to help you out. And there is a 5-step process. First, identify the competitor. Second, understand the competitor. Third, weakness. Fourth, strength. Third, strength. Fourth, weakness. And fifth, put all information together. So this is all about the competitive landscape. Now the next question of the discussion is, what is strategic analysis? We understand what is situation analysis, what is strategic analysis. Here also the main theme is same. There the theme is same, internal, external environment, but the more focus was about the macro environment. Everything about the macro environment you are supposed to write into the situation analysis. When there is a strategic analysis, what you are supposed to write? So देखो, strategic analysis, what it says that there are two type of factors that you need to analyze. First factor is competitive and industry condition. Competitive and industry factor. First factor is competitive and industry factor. In the situation analysis also the same thing is given, but there what is written? This kind of macro forces are near, the macro forces which are near to organization will have a more impact. Here it is written that you have to do two type of analysis. First, competitive and market situation, competitive and industry situation, industry forces. First, competitive and industry forces. Second, it is related to internal. Internal means you have to do analysis of resources, capability, know-how, technology, strength, weaknesses of the organization itself. So two type of forces you need to identify. On the basis of the analysis of these forces, you are going to make the strategy. The work of the management is what? To make the strategy, to create the strategy, to evaluate it, to implement it, and to take the corrective action. This is the strategic analysis. In the book you will find it, lots of, you will find it difficult to understand, but it is a very easy question to understand and very easy to write. So what is strategic analysis? So strategy is not a task which is going to be flow from the feeling, intuition, opinion, and instinct. Strategy will never ever come from the instinct. If I tell you I want to start a shop and of a product, 99 rupees product shop, any product is on 99 rupees, it will work or not. If you feel that yes it will work, this is not a strategy. If you feel that leaflet dal do sir, it will work, it is not a strategy. Should be flown from the data. Should have to do the analysis what kind of activities the businesses which are successful in this industry are doing, what kind of things which are going to be better for the customer, what are our USPs, according to it we need to do communication, what is our location, according to it we need to, what is our target audience, according to it we need to do the marketing. So can I say that strategy is not on the basis of your feeling, it is not on the basis of your intuition, it is not on the basis of your prediction, it should flow from the proper analysis. And proper analysis means analysis of two things, internal and external environment. You need to consider two type of forces, industry and competitive forces, and second, company's own strength, weakness, know-how, unke resources, unke capabilities, and all these things. Analytical sequence kya hai? What is the analytical sequence? How you are supposed to go ahead? So first you do internal and external analysis. On the basis of that, you are going to decide about the alternative, decide about the the vision. On the basis of internal external analysis, you will get the idea about strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. You need to match it, and to match you need to make the strategy, evaluate it, implement it, and control it. It is necessary to do the analysis of internal and external environment. If you don't do the analysis and make the strategy, man se bana diya, so there are very less chances that it is going to, it has a good prospect for the business. It is going to help your business to grow. There are very less chances. So your strategy should flow completely from the internal and external analysis. Ye puri PPT mein what we are supposed to remember, we have to remember two things. Two things need to consider. So third point, two things need to consider. First, industry and competitive condition, and second, company's own capability, resources, strength, weakness, know-how, and everything. And after writing this introduction, you have to draw this figure. Go through it properly. If you understand it properly, whatever we have written is diagrammically, diagram ke hisab se it has been represented. So see, first it is written external analysis. External analysis means all the forces which are outside the organization. The first point written is customer analysis. Customer analysis means which segment, what kind of thing motivated their behavior to buy the product, unmet needs, which are the needs which is not getting satisfied by the customer. So this is customer analysis. Second is the competitor analysis. Competitor analysis matlab strategic group, which are the related competitor. If I start a business of selling a cloth, Pantaloon is not going to be my, if I start a shop, one shop, Pantaloon is my competitor, because they have a different kind of capabilities, different kind of audience, and I'm competing in the market with different kind of competencies, है ना? तो strategic group, then because the people who are competing with the similar kind of competencies for the similar market can be considered in a same strategic group. Then performance क्या है competitor का, objective, strategy, culture, cost structure, this thing. Then market analysis. First customer analysis, then competitor analysis, then market analysis. The size of the market, growth of the market, profitability, entry barriers. Entry barriers we have discussed, like to enter into the market, what is the cost, what is the capital investment which you need to do, so such kind of thing. Entry barrier कैसा है, exit barrier कैसा है, profitability कैसा है, कितना profitable market है, कितना attractive है. Then environment analysis, technology, government, economical, cultural, demographical, whatever we understood into the first chapter. So this is external. External means each and every force outside. Internal, कुछ भी लिख सकते हो. You need to remember 3-4 things and you can write it. Then second, right hand side पे there is internal analysis. तो performance about the company's own things, profitability, sales, customer satisfaction, product quality, relative cost, new product, human resource. Determinants analysis. Determinants means past and current strategies, strategic problem. Determine, you are going to determine something, you are going to get some outcome out of it. So past and current strategies, which strategy is performing better, where is the strategic problem, what are the organization's capability. These are the things which are helping you to determine the strategic option. So this is external and internal analysis. From the external analysis, what you will get? So you will get opportunity, threat. You will get opportunity and threat. Trend, how the organization's industry is going to shape up in the future, and you'll also come to know about the strategic uncertainty, strategic risk and uncertainty. Well, uncertainty is going to be at both the places. External be uncertainty. There are going to be events which we cannot predict. If there is a power cut, that is there is a issue into my production assembly line, so that is internal uncertainty. Then there is going to be a government change and taxation which are higher on my industry, which are going to increase in my industry. That is uncertainty from the external analysis. So internal, external say you will come to know about opportunity, threat, trend and strategic uncertainties. Same way from the internal you will come to know about strength, weakness, problem, constraint. You came to know about opportunity and threat and strength. So below strategy, identification and selection. Means identify the alternative, select the strategy, implement the operating plan and review the strategy. This figure you are supposed to write when there is a question. Analysis का अगर small question है तो ये introduction, उसके बाद ये फिगर बनाओगे एंड दैट इज गोइंग टू बी द एंड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन. फिर से एक बार रिवाइज कर लेते हैं फॉर द प्रॉपर अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड रिमेंबरिंग. This is what you are supposed to write into the introduction of the question, and after that you have to draw this figure. This figure is easy to remember. If you remember this figure, on the basis of that you can write the question ka introduction also. If the question is a small question in 2-3 marks, these are the two things which you are supposed to write. If it is a 7 marks question, then there is another part of the question which also you need to write. That is about the issues into the strategic analysis, the concern areas into the strategic analysis, the main focus areas in the strategic analysis that we are going to study next. Issues to be considered in strategic analysis. When I talk about the issues to be considered in strategic analysis, we are supposed to study 3 things. You need to remember these 3 things. As I said, if it is a total 7 marks question about the strategic analysis, you have to write the strategic analysis, you have to do internal, external, and then opportunity, threat, and strength, weakness, and then formulation of strategy, selecting alternative, implementing, and evaluating. That is the last stage. After that, you have to write that there are 3 main important things to consider when you are doing strategic analysis. 3 main focus area, 3 main characteristic kind of thing, 3 concern areas, 3 main areas on which you are supposed to be focused. So 3 things. First, strategy evolves over a period of time. Now what does it mean? Strategy evolves over a period of time means what? We make the strategy, then how it is going to get evolved? Because there is going to be a change into the external environment. The external environment which you are predicting before making a strategy. When you make any strategy, you are going to predict about the external environment. And when you are making any strategy after prediction of the external environment, that strategy is according to your prediction. That strategy is on the basis of the prediction which you have made. Your prediction are not going to be 100% true. So there are going to be some unanticipated event which are going to happen, and your main task is what? Your main task is to adjust your organization's activity. Means your strategy should be appropriate with the environmental factor. That is what strategic analysis says. Strategic analysis says that you need to do the external environment analysis and internal environment analysis. According to it, you need to make the strategy that we understood out of that figure which we have discussed in the previous slide, this figure. On the basis of this, we understood it is all about identifying external and internal things, what are happening into the market, what is happening into the competition, what is happening at the macro environment, what are my know-hows. All these things you have to identify, and on the basis of that you are going to make the strategy. But when time goes, your prediction might get wrong. There are going to be a new activity which are going to be there in the future, new activity which you need to do. Initially you are working into one country, now you want to expand your operation into 2 or 3 countries. In that case, there are new activities which you need to perform in house. There are new threat and opportunity from the external environment. The first example which I have given about the other countries is the internal environment, which is going to change. Pehle I was making 1 lakh unit. Now to serve 2 countries, I have to make 3 lakh unit of the product. So this is what? This is the change which I need to introduce. This is the change into the strategy, change into the planning. So and the same way, external environment, if I find out opportunity, to encash that opportunity, I'll try to do the business. I'll adjust my strategy according to it. So because there is a change into the external and internal environment, the strategy is going to get evolved time to time. It is nothing but it is a series of decisions. My today's strategy is nothing but my today's strategy is a series of decisions which I have taken over a period of time. Over a period of time, over 2 years, whatever decision I have taken, on the basis of that, my current strategy is what? It is a total sum of the past decision which I have taken till date. So this is the explanation of strategy evolves over a period of time. Now focus on the PPT. The first issue out of 3 issues, the first issue is strategy evolves over a period of time. What does it mean? So strategy of business at a particular point of time. आज मेरा जो स्ट्रैटेजी है, स्ट्रैटेजी ऑफ अ बिजनेस एट अ पर्टिकुलर टाइम, आज मेरा जो स्ट्रैटेजी है इज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ स्मॉल डिसीजन taken over extended period of time. Means in the past whatever I have taken, whatever decision I have taken, today's strategy is a total of that. You need to remember this line. Strategy of a business at a particular point of time is a result of small decision taken over an extended period of time. Why you need to take small decision, or why you need to make change in strategy? Because the second point, main work of strategy is to maintain a good fit between environment factor. So it keep evolving, and when it keep evolving means current strategy has been evolved in the past, and it has been evolved because of the decision, a small decision which I have taken into the past. So this is your first issue. The second issue which you need to consider, or second important point or concern area for the strategic analysis, is the balance. So balance means what? So let us understand, as I discussed already, it is all about maintaining a balance, syncing the external environment factor with internal things. Whatever is the external environment factor, according to it I need to adjust the strategy. Main work is what? It is about matching. It is a tool by which you are going to match external environment and firm's activity, internal environment and external environment. This also you can say. Internal environment means firm's activity, firm's know-how, firm's technology, firm's resource, firm's capability, and external environment means all the forces which are outside the organization. So strategy स्ट्रैटेजी फॉर्मुलेशन के प्रोसेस को सम टाइम इट हैज़ बीन डिस्क्राइब्ड, सम टाइम उसको ऐसा भी बोला जाता है कि इट इज़ अ प्रोसेस बाय विच इट इज़ अ टूल टू मैच इंटरनल एंड एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट. बट कैन यू मैच internal and external environment in a proper way exactly perfectly? No, you cannot match it. Understand, basic example लेते हैं, we will understand it by the basic example. Like you are preparing for the CA, if you have done the planning, or old example, you have done the planning for 8 hours study. External environment are the season, the environment, the condition of the reading, the obstacle which are going to come in your path of reading for 6 hours or 8 hours in a day, like relative aa gaye, you are bimar ho gaye, there's a festival which is going on outside, so there's going to be a lots of noise. Such kind of problem can arise, and these problems are complicated, are very complicated and interrelated with each other. We take the example of the external environment, like government's focus on a particular industry. It depends on the basis of the intention of that particular government which is ruling. If there is a change into the government policy, if there is a change into the taxation policy, if there is a change into the supply market, जो भी मेरी रॉ मटेरियल मेरे को प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, दो सप्लाई मार्केट, इफ देयर इज अ चेंज इनटू दैट, देन आई कैन नॉट every time make a perfect balance with it. If I want to make a perfect balance with it, means when there is a change into the situation, I am going to come up with the best idea, best solution for that change. You cannot get it always. You cannot get it always. So in the real life, it is really difficult to manage a perfect balance between external and internal environment. But yes, workable balance need to create it. Workable balance means company can survive, company can grow. Such kind of balance normally for each and every external changes you need to manage. Workable balance should not affect the survival of the organization. And it is difficult to manage the balance. Why? Because the characteristic or the environmental characteristic or environmental factors or environmental variables are interrelated. They are diverse. They are of variety of kind. You cannot understand how. Sometime it is going to be so difficult for company to understand that how. Like take the example of rivals move. If I launch a particular scheme, take the example of Geo launch a particular scheme, and if they have predicted that, if they have predicted that their rival are going to also launch the same kind of schemes for the internet, in that case their strategy is going to be different compared to if they have not predicted, their strategy is going to be different. Their achievement of the result also depend on that. जैसे ही जियो ने लॉन्च किया 4G in 300 rupees for everyday 1 GB, the same kind of scheme has been launched by the competitor also. So their competitive advantage was not there for the long term. Why not for the long term? This is because of one reason. There can be n number of such reasons. So the reason behind the implementation, behind the selection of the strategy is purely depending on your understanding about the external environment's behavior, and those environmental factors are very diverse and interrelated, and because of that it is not easy to maintain the balance. So who does the work of the balancing? The balancing work is done by the management. Management are the people who are going to do the balancing between what? The company's resources and environment. You can see into the figure also on the PPT. See, in between there is a strategy. ऊपर क्या लिखा है? तो ऊपर लिखा है management. What management does? Management try to perfect is not possible every time. So workable balance between the environmental factor, this environmental factor, and the resources. Workable balance between environmental factor and resources. Management का काम होता है to make a strategy. It is a work of balance. The main issue is what? Balance. तो balance अगर क्वेश्चन में लिखा जाता है कि strategy is all about the balance of internal and external environment. Yes, strategy is all about balance between internal and external environment. And sometimes strategy formulation process can be described. Strategy formulation process can be described. ये लिखना है आपको. This is the important line which you are supposed to write into the exam का answer, question का answer. तो strategy is sometimes strategy formulation process is defined as a process where there is going to be a balance between external and internal environment. It is a tool by which you are going to do the balance. Strategy formulation can be described as a tool by which you can do the balance between external and internal environment. Every time it is not possible to do perfect balance. So management does workable balance. If you are able to find out a workable balance, then also it is a strategy. Workable balance बनाया, हर बार परफेक्ट स्ट्रेटेजी नहीं बनता, परफेक्ट स्ट्रेटेजी नहीं होता, फ्लोलेस स्ट्रेटेजी नहीं होता. सो इफ यू वांट टू एडजस्ट विद द एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट, हर बार परफेक्ट बैलेंस नहीं होता है, बट you need to make a workable balance. And why perfect balance is not possible? Because the variables are very diverse. They are from various categories. They are from a variety of type. And another thing is that their behavior is also going to be different. Why? Because they are interrelated, interdependent, and prediction about their behavior, the particular forces behavior, like political environment कैसे behave करेगा, technological environment कैसे behave करेगा, that is not possible completely to understand. Completely you cannot predict it. So management does the balance work. Management, people of the organization who do the work of the balance. Sometime what happens? Sometime this balance is going to be disturbed. When there is external environment change and you are not able to manage the things, and things are going to go out of the hand of the management, and this balance get disturbed, and when this balance gets disturbed, we can say that there is a risk which happened. So this is the third point. First point what we understood. First point we understood, strategy evolves over a period of time. Second point we understood, that is balance. Let us go through the PPT to understand how to write it into the exam. तो अगर question आता है balance, तो strategy formulation process sometimes described as a tool to match internal and external environment. In real life, it's not possible to maintain perfect balance, but workable balance need to be created. That is the task of the strategy. It is difficult to maintain balance. Why? Because of the diversity, there are lots of factors from different areas, and its interrelationship have a different of intensity and effect. कितना force होगा, what kind of effect is going to be there on the business, it is also going to be different. Like government tax policy and my raw material suppliers market, both don't have same impact on my business. You understand? Government tax policy and my raw material suppliers cost. Raw material suppliers market means whatever is the condition of the raw material supply market, both doesn't have the same effect, both doesn't have the same impact on my industry. So because of such kind of thing, it is difficult to maintain a balance. But otherwise what is strategy? तो ये figure आपको draw करना है, ऊपर है management is going to create a workable balance between which two things, so resources, that is internal thing, and environment, that is external thing. So management do the work of balance by making strategy. However, sometimes situation go out of control of the hand of the manager, and there will be imbalance between environment and resources, and this condition is known as the risk. So risk, the third important issue, risk. Risk is what? So maintaining balance, if there is a question of the risk, how you are supposed to write? So maintaining balance between external environment and internal environment is important, but sometime there is going to be a complexity to maintain it because of the intermingling of the environment, environmental factors. Intermingling of environmental factors means complexity, एक तो difficult to understand है, और दूसरा intermingling means एक दूसरे में mix हो जाते हैं. Both are different kind of, like take the example of education. Education and social class, education and income has a correlationship. So can I say that education is related to demographic and standard of living, because income बढ़ेगा, standard of living भी increase होगा. तो education, factor of the education, variable of the education, that is what, that is a part of the demographic. तो demographic के एक particular variable का relationship किसके साथ है? स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग, तो इकोनॉमिकल फैक्टर के साथ है. डेमोग्राफिकल फैक्टर, इकोनॉमिकल फैक्टर, दे बोथ इंटरमिंगल. So complexity and intermingling of the variable makes it difficult to maintain a perfect balance, and when there is an imbalance, it is a situation which is known as a risk. Now risk कितने type के होते हैं? Let us understand first. There are going to be two type of risk: internal risk, external risk. कैसे understand? The main task is what? To maintain a balance. When there is going to be imbalance, the two things, internal and external, these two things you need to maintain a balance. When there is an imbalance, when there is a change in one, internal may change, ya to change in another, external may change. So when there is a change into the internal environment, and if there is an inconsistency between external environment, forces from the external environment, and the resources, activities of the organization, then it is known as what? The external risk. External risk, because it is because of the external environmental factor, and internal risk is going to arise from the internal environmental factor, like political, economical, ecological, technological. These are the various factors which are from the external environment. Competition, industry, market situation, these are the factors which are from the external environment. If there is a change into that, and because of that there is a imbalance between strategy and the factors from the outside of the organization, then it is what? It is an imbalance. Imbalance is what? A risk. Risk is because of what? External environmental factor. So it is what? External risk. When I talk about the internal risk means my strategy is not consistent with the resources which I have. My strategy requires a different kind of resources. It means that there is my competencies are not appropriate to adopt that strategy. Like I take example, I want to start a refinery, petroleum refinery. For that I need a heavy investment, I need a knowledge about the petrochemical industry. I don't have that, so I don't have capability, I don't have resources to do it. It means my strategy is not consistent, is not appropriate, is not according to my internal environment, and that risk is what? Internal risk. Now I hope you are clear about these two risks. One is the external risk, another is the internal risk. External risk matlab it is a risk which is going to be created on the account of inconsistency between the force strategy and force from the external environment. And internal risk occurs from the organization's internal environmental factor, like inconsistency between strategy and internal resources. These are the two types of risk. Now risk has a nature. What is the nature of the risk? Risk is short term or long term. Risk is going to be a short term or long term. Short term risk means which is going to be because of some misunderstanding or some error into the prediction of something, some issues which you are not able to cope up. And long term risk is going to arise when there is a complete change into something. If you have made a wrong prediction, let us understand, if you have made a wrong prediction about environmental setting, and according to it if you have created a strategy, then you'll understand this is the wrong prediction which I have created, and because of that my strategy is not working. So in that case what you need to do? You need to adjust your strategy. That is what? That is an error into the prediction. That is what? That is an error into the prediction of the environmental setting, and because of that there is an imbalance. That error you can rectify. But for example, the whole environment setting is going to change. If it is changed, it means that you cannot rectify it. You need to adjust according to it. And if you don't adjust according to it, that risk is going to be there for the long term. So this way, somewhere when you do the error into the prediction of the environmental factors, then it is what? It is a short term risk. If the environmental factor changes, then it is what? Long term risk. So there are two types nature of both the risk, external, internal, and nature for both the risk, long term and short term. When I talk about the external risk which is short term, so external है, it is because of the external environment change or external environmental factor, है ना. तो दो चीजें, पहला, you have made an error. If you have made an error into the prediction of the external environment, and if you have created a strategy on the basis of that error wala prediction, so in that case there is going to be an imbalance, and this is what? Short term, because you have made the error. And second case is what? When the environmental forces changes. In that case, thoda adjustment is not going to help you out. In that case, you have to make your strategy according to the new things. So, chota sa error hai, so it is a short term. And if environmental factor changes, so it is a long term. For the internal thing also, there is going to be a short term and long term risk. Short term risk means a short term in the internal. When there is a inconsistency, you are not able to cope up, you are not able to adjust with the need of the market for some period of time, like you are doing digitalization. There is a cooperative bank, you are maintaining everything, not the whole banking ERP is available. You have created 3-4 softwares and you are managing your whole bank into that. You think that you need to create collaborated, completely exhaustive platform, IT platform for your customer as well as banking operation. In that case, initially if you have created and if you want to it, there is going to be an issue of teaching employee about the new software. There are going to be issues with the implementation of that particular technology. You have studied such kind of thing into your IT. So implementation is going to be a concern area. You need to train the people. So this situation is what? This situation is imbalance between your strategy. Your strategy is to give proper customer service, but your employees are not trained because of the new system. There are bugs, there are problems into the new system, and because of that your objective is to serve, your strategy to serve customer in a particular period of time. You're not able to do it. It means your objective is not getting achieved. Why it is not getting achieved? Because there is an imbalance. There is an imbalance. Why imbalance? Because you are not able to cope up with the requirement. You are not able to cope up with the requirement. But once the people will learn it, this problem will be gone up, will not be arising again till the time you deploy the new system, which is not a frequent decision. So here what happened? Here internal risk. It is because my inability to cope up the strategic move or to cope up my resources according to the my strategy. So this is internal risk. But if you have created a strategy which is not sync with your resources at all, then in that case it is what? Your strategy required some other resources, you have some other kind of resources. Your that you need a designer of the Android and you have all the resources of the iPhone game designer. It means there is an inconsistency between internal resources and external resources. Internal resources and strategy. And this is what? Long-term risk. In account of what? The internal environment. So this is all about the concept of the risk. Third concept, the third issues, third concern areas of the strategic analysis. We'll understand it from PPT, how you are supposed to write. अगर question है risk, तो managing balance between internal and external environment obviously is important, but sometimes complexity and intermingling. Complexity मतलब difficult to understand how particular environmental force is going to affect me, and intermingling means we have taken the example of demographic and economical. Demographic means your education. According to education, earning will increase. Earning will increase. Standard of living will increase. So standard of living is what? The economical. So intermingling, the variable are intermingled with each other. It makes difficult to maintain balance, and when there's imbalance there will be a risk. Now focus on that box 2 by 2 box. We discuss about the risk. इसको बोला जाएगा classification of risk. How you are going to classify the risk in 4 categories: 2 type and 2 nature. Type कौन सा? Internal external. Nature कौन सा है? तो short term long term. See, external and short term on the left hand side, northeast corner पे आपका, northwest corner पे आपका external environment and short term combination. So when there is an error in interpreting the external environment, when there is an error in understanding, prediction में error हो जाए because of the external environment का, तो that is external and short term. Then external and long term, when there is change into the environment as we discussed. Then उसके नीचे देखो internal में short term में, when organization's capacity is unable to cope up to strategic demand. Whatever is my strategy required, whatever kind of resources my strategy required, my organization's internal capacity, internal resources are not able to cope up with it. And long term means inconsistency with the strategy and developed on account of changes in internal capability and preferences. Internal organization का जो भी capability है और तुमने जो strategy design किया है, दोनों में inconsistency है. So this is the classification of risk. You need to remember this. And external risk on account of, now what is the meaning of external risk? So external risk is on account of inconsistency between strategy and forces from external environment, and same thing you can write for the internal risk. Internal risk is on account of inconsistency between strategy and forces from internal environment or capability or resources or know-how, technology, preferences, everything. Internal risk occurs from organization's internal or close environment. This is what you are supposed to write if there is a question of the risk. So 3 issues which we understood. Strategy is what? Strategy maintain balance between external and internal environment. Another thing we understood is, first thing we understood is what? The strategy evolves over a period of time. Second thing, it is a task of balance. And third, so moving ahead with the next question, ये थोड़ा सा complicated to understand. It is not going to be like that पूरा क्वेश्चन आएगा, बट यस देयर आर 7 पॉइंट इन दिस क्वेश्चन. 7 पॉइंट इस क्वेश्चन में, उसमें छोटे छोटे शॉर्ट नोट्स बनते हैं. सो मेथड ऑफ इंडस्ट्री एंड कॉम्पिटिटिव एनालिसिस, देयर आर 7 मेथड्स व्हिच वी आर सपोज टू डिस्कस. 7 पॉइंट ऑफ 7 areas, 7 main focus areas, 7 type of factors, 7 of type of point of view which we need to understand. तो मेथड ऑफ इंडस्ट्री एंड कॉम्पिटिटिव एनालिसिस, उसमें सबसे पहला है दैट इज डोमिनेंट इकोनॉमिकल of industry. Let us understand dominant economical factor of industry, what this particular topic talks about. So it is, you can understand that each and every industry differ as far as their nature and character is concerned. Each and every industry is different from each other. When you talk the example, or take the example of education industry, if you take the example of automobile industry, the factor which are going to affect education industry is not going to be same which are going to affect the automobile industry. Even if it is same, then their intensity to affect is going to be different. Intensity कितने level तक affect करेंगे. So each and every industry has a different nature, has a different characteristic. The character and nature of the industry are different, significantly different from each other. And so the work of the analysis start from understanding the dominant economical feature. हर एक इंडस्ट्री टू इंडस्ट्री कैरेक्टर एंड नेचर अलग है. अगर तुमको समझना है व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट इज दैट, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ इंडस्ट्री सिचुएशन, स्ट्रेटेजिक सिचुएशन इज दैट, देन इट स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द एनालिसिस ऑफ डोमिनेंट इकोनॉमिकल फीचर. सो यू नीड टू understand dominant economical feature of what industry. So what is the meaning of industry? जैसे मैंने बताया education industry, उसके बाद automobile industry, उसके बाद entertainment industry. These are the different industry. In education also there are different kind of industry. In automobile also there are different kind of industries. Like industry means my competitor. Industry in a simple word, if you want to understand, it is what my means. My industry was what? My industry means all the players who have a similar kind of product, or the attribute of the product is same, and they are competing for the same buyer. Similar kind of product and same buyer के लिए compete करते हैं. Then that is known as the industry. What is the meaning of industry? So industry is, this is what you are supposed to write if there is a question of dominant economical feature of the industry. So you have to write that industry differs significantly in nature and characteristic from each other. So analysis will start from doing analysis of dominant features or dominant factors. Which are the dominant factors or features of the industry, that you need to understand. And what is the meaning of industry? So industry is what? So industry is same or similar type of attribute wali product and competing for the same buyer. They want to sell the product to the same buyer. So in that case you have to identify your industry, and then you have to understand some of the dominant features. Dominant economical features मतलब किस type के features? तो general features of the industry, like what is the market growth, what is the market growth rate, what is the size of the market, what is the current condition of the competitor, how many competitors are there, what is the economy of scale which are there with the competitor, what kind of product competitor gives, what is the competitive condition, what is the threat of new entry, each and everything is going to affect. What is the capital requirement, what is the entry barrier. If you need lots of money to enter into the market, so entry barrier is high. If you need patented technology to enter into the market, entry barrier is high. What is the exit barrier? Because exit of a big company is also going to affect my market. And if there is a heavy exit barrier, like company want to exit from the market, but if there is a huge investment which has been done, and if they do the scrap of that investment or they want to sell the business, so price is very high. If they do the scrap of the business, then there is going to be a lots of loss. So exit barrier, जैसे 600-800 crore का company, if you want to exit, if you close it, there is going to be lots of loss. And if you want to sell it, you are not able to find out lots of buyer for that. Exit barrier. So these are the various dominant economical feature. अगर क्वेश्चन आता है dominant economical feature, तो 3 इंट्रोडक्शन में लाइन नहीं, और उसके बाद यू आर सपोज टू राइट 7-8 component, 7-8 features of the industry. We'll go through the PPT to understand. If the question is dominant economical feature of the industry, तो क्या लिखोगे? सबसे पहले industry differs significantly in its nature and character, and analysis of the same start with the analysis of its dominant features. Industry is what? So industry is a group of firm whose product have same and or similar attribute, such that they compete for the same buyer, same type of product. Factor changes industry to industry, but some of the common features are as below, and some of the common features which are going to be there in any industry are known as dominant economical feature, like market size, market growth rate, position of the business life cycle, कौन से life cycle introduction stage पे है या growth stage पे है या maturity stage पे है, decline stage पे है, कौन से stage पे है product the whole industry or business. Competitive condition, कितने competitor हैं, what kind of rivalry is there, there is a cutthroat competition or each and everyone has a same separate small focus market, or it is on the base of the geography or what. तो scope of competitive rivalry, कितना स्कोप है, न्यू एंट्री कौन आएगा, कैसे आएगा, प्रोडक्ट कंडीशन ऑफ राइवलरी, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ प्रोडक्ट दे आर सेलिंग, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ फीचर्स दे आर एडिंग, व्हाट इज दैट डायरेक्शन, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रेटजी दे आर परस्यूइंग, द नंबर ऑफ बायर, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन चैनल, इंट्रोडक्शन एंड डिफ्यूजन ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, हाउ क्विकली द न्यू टेक्नोलॉजी इज एंटरिंग इनटू द मार्केट, हाउ फास्ट it is going distributed. Means once a technology is getting introduced, after that it will take a time to get diffused. People will buy a product with new technology, they learn the new technology, and then there is going to be a demand, and then that demand and spread is known as the diffusion of technology. So what is the introduction and diffusion of technology? Economy of scale का benefit, learning curve का benefit, capital requirement, ease of entry and exit. So these are the various factors. From point number 4, 5, 6, 7, you are supposed to write 6 or 7 points, then also it is enough. And I have bifurcated this all the dominant economical feature in 4 categories in a way that you can remember it in a The another important feature which you are supposed to understand is the nature and strength of the competition. Nature and strength of the competition. What does it mean? It means that what is going to be the competitive pressure in the industry. What is going to be the competitive pressure that you need to understand, which are going to be the factor which are going to create a competitive pressure. Competitive pressure means a pressure by which your profit is going to get decreased. That pressure, those pressures are the variety of the range. There are going to be different kind of pressures on the industry. So fairly the pressures are going to be different from industry to industry, but to analyze it, the framework is a common. You can make a common guideline to analyze the competitive pressure. So what is the common guideline which is widely used? That is Porter's 5-force model. Porter's 5-force model is a widely used framework to analyze the competitive pressure. So nature and strength of competition, if this is the second feature, dominant economical features, what the first thing, second thing is what, nature and strength of the competition. Such kind of 7 things which we need to understand, और उसके अंदर short question भी बनेंगे. So जब मैं बोलूँ नेचर एंड स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द कंपटीशन, तो वन इंपॉर्टेंट पैरामीटर ऑफ इंडस्ट्री एंड कॉम्पिटिटिव एनालिसिस टू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रेशर, द सोर्स ऑफ कॉम्पिटिटिव प्रेशर, एंड टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ स्ट्रॉन्ग दैट सोर्स इज, हाउ स्ट्रॉन्ग दैट प्रेशर इज, and to do the analysis. And this factor, this source of the competitive pressure and the intensity of it is going to be differ. It's going to change. It is going to be a different from industry to industry. But to judge it, there is a common guideline, and Porter's 5-force model can be used for that. Porter's 5-force model क्या करता है? So there are 5. There is this topic is into the detail also in the book. In the first chapter, we have understood Porter's 5-force. 5 things are there. 5 things according to the old course, it is into the first course. 5 things are there into the Porter's 5-force. According to those 5, analysis of those 5 things will help you to understand what kind of competitive pressures are there into the industry, and on the basis of that, your attractiveness of the industry can be understood. How attractive that industry from doing a business point of view. If it is a highly attractive industry, we need to enter into the business. If it is not much attractive, not attractive in a non-attractive industry, we are not supposed to enter into that. And there are 5 forces which can be applied to any industry. You consider in your mind about the 5 forces. See, like interfirm rivalry, that is one of the force. Can be considered in every industry. Threat of new entry, threat of substitute, the bargaining power of customer, bargaining power of buyer. These are the 5 things. This is the framework. Porter's 5 force is the framework. Why? Because it is easy to understand and easy to apply also. It is very realistic. So second वाला point जो आता है आपका nature and strength of competition. अगर ऐसा पूछा जाता है एग्जाम में in 3 marks, 4 marks, 2 marks, what you are supposed to write? तो one important parameter. To do these are the parameters, these are the factor for what? तो industry and competitive analysis. Our main question is what? Industry and competitive analysis. तो industry and competitive analysis के लिए पहले सबसे पहला point क्या था? तो dominant economical feature of industry. दूसरा point क्या है? Nature and strength of competition. So when you are doing industry and competitive analysis, you need to understand the sources of competitive pressure. Competitive pressure is going to created on the organization by various sources, and which source is creating the pressure and how strong each pressure is. Which source is creating the pressure? You have to identify all the sources and you have to check the intensity. Even though this kind of pressure, competitive pressure in various industry are not same, but the framework of the pressure, framework or the process to do the same, analysis of the same is more or less same. And Porter's 5 force is widely used thing. It is a common framework which will help you, which is helping management or which is useful in doing such kind of competitive pressures analysis. It provides a powerful and systematic analysis of competitive forces. So, if you see those 5 things, you can understand each and everything is covered into that. To do the analysis of the market, to do the analysis of the competitive situation. It is a systematic and powerful analytical tool to provide you complete idea about the competitive situation. It diagnoses how strong each pressure is, and it is widely used because it is relatively easy and easy to understand. This is our second point, nature and strength of the competition. Now moving ahead with the third point, and trigger of change. This is the third important point in the strategic analysis, in industrial analysis which we are understanding. The first was what? The dominant economical features of the industry and dominant economical feature of the industry. Second is nature and strength of the competition, and third is trigger of change. Understand, there can be a small question out of this topic also. It is a very important topic. Understand how to write. पहले concept बता देता हूँ. Trigger of change is what? तो आगे के जो दोनों थे, the previous 2 topic which we have discussed, है ना, are giving you idea about the forces which are going to affect the industry, but they are not going to give you idea about how those forces are going to change. Because we are not supposed to understand only what is going to be the intensity and what is going to be the effect on the business, but we also need to predict how those forces are going to change, how entry of new player into the industry is going to get affected by some of the changes into the external environment. So third thing which we need to understand is the trigger of change. Trigger of change is, so how you are supposed to write the introduction of this particular question. So first you need to write कि dominant economical feature and competitive pressure is going to give you little about, it is going to tell you about the situation of the market, but it is going to talk a little about the change which is going to happen into that. So to explain the change into the industry, there is a very common phenomena, there is a very common hypothesis which we have, that is product life cycle. Product life cycle you have studied in the school also. Product life cycle is what? Otherwise we are supposed to study in the next part of the portfolio analysis in the same chapter. Product life cycle means each and every product goes through these changes. Each and every industry goes through the changes. There is going to be what? Introduction. Then there is going to be a growth. There is going to be a maturity and decline. When a product is going to introduce, there is going to be a very low demand. Then people will come to know about the product. They gain the knowledge about the product. And if product is good, then people will start buying the product. Then there is going to be a growth. At one point of time, all the people have all the required product. There is no much innovation happening, and product will reach at the saturation level. That is maturity, and then there is going to be a decline. So this is one of the phenomena, this is one of the hypotheses which can explain the change into the industry. But this is not enough. You need to identify the reason behind the changes, and this reason behind the changes are the driving force. Two things which you are supposed to write here. One is the driving force and another is the common driving force. What is the meaning of driving force? So it is important to understand. कैसे लिखोगे driving force? So it is important to understand in which stage the industry is. But industry stage is not going to give you idea about each and every factor which are going to affect which are going to make the change into the industry. So in that case, you have to find out the reason behind the stage of the change, reason behind the change of the industry in product life cycle manner, like industries in the introduction stage. If it is going to go, enter into the growth, then what are the reason behind it? And those reasons which are very important and very high influence on the industry change, then those are known as dominating forces. Most dominating forces means the forces which has a more effect on the industry, and those most dominating forces are what? Driving.